page Ches, the second paragraph in Ois Gimel, line 21, the fifth page of the Mimer, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, fifth page of the Mimer, the fifth page of the Kaf. So we were talking about that there is the difference between preparation for Matan Torah, which was the whole purpose of Golus Mitzrayim, to prepare the world and the Yidden for the giving of the Torah. In addition to the preparation for the giving of the Torah, there had to be able to do that. There had to be both Golus Mitzrayim and the splitting of the sea. In a similar vein, for the revelation of the inner part of the Torah that will take place when Mashiach comes, since the inner part of the Torah is so much greater, so on the one hand, it will have similar preparations. It has Golus and also the splitting of the river Pros, and that the Heinif Yodel Anor, that he will raise his hand over the sea, over the river. But since it is so much greater and deeper and without boundary, not like the revealed part of the Torah, therefore the Golus took so long, and therefore we can explain there's differences between the splitting of the sea and the splitting of the river. So we started to explain that the revealed part of the Torah is called Eitz Hadas because it descends. It has to do with Torah Ra'ad, engages and is involved with refining and elevating the bad. And it has to do with the sphere of Malchus, which descends into Bri Yitzirasi. And as opposed to Eitz Chaim, which is Pnimius HaTorah. So we're going to explore further in this idea about the level of the Pnimius of the Nigla Torah, that's a Sadas Torah, that it deals with refining and elevating the sparks and beyond. Line 21, page Ches. When they had to affect the refinement through Torah that was enclosed in good and bad, such a way that it should be recognizable, it should be felt, it should have an impact in the physicality of the world. So for that to take place, for that there first had to be the refinement of the world and the Yidden. As we explained, that was the idea of the Golus Mitzrayim, and especially following Golus Mitzrayim, the conclusion of Pesach, the seventh day of Pesach, is the day of the splitting of the sea. So we begin with Golus with the Exodus, and then we continue with Kriyas Yamsuf. This completion and of the refinement process happens by the splitting of the sea. The idea behind the splitting of the sea is what it says in the pasuk, that he transformed sea to dry land. So what is the inner meaning of sea and dry land? Yamsuf is called the level of Malchus. Remember, we spoke before that Torah has to do with Malchus, the real part of Torah, because Malchus descends into Biyah to be Mevar Birurim, just like Torah engages with the bat. So the same thing, Malchus is called the end of all levels. That he's a play on the word Yam Suf, Suf from the word Soif, end. So it's a level of the end of all levels. Loidak Fishi Batzillas, not just the way Malchus is in the world of Atzillas, was necessary and had to be opened up and transformed to dry land, but also Lagam Kifi, the way it's enclosed in the worlds of Bri Yitzirasiya. As we know, there's the level of Malchus, the way it's part of Atzilus and doesn't yet engage with the worlds of Biyah. Then there's the level of Malchus, the way it descends into the worlds of Biyah. Until Malchus descends to be the power of the doer in the thing that is done. Concerning this, it says, Var Hashem Malchus, always Hashem, your word. What's it referring to, your word? The word of Hashem, which we know, Spheres HaMalchus, Hashem's speech. Nitzav Hashemayim is standing in the heavens, top of page 10. And Pirish Baal Shem Tov, like the explanation of Baal Shem Tov, Shetevis voice is able that these words of the Asara Mamoris and these letters of the Asara Mamoris, Hey Nitzavis, this are always set and standing within the firmament to give it life. That's why it says, in the heavens, in the firmaments, there's always the statement of Hashem, Yehira Kia, to give it life. But it's not just limited to the heavens, so to in all created beings. And that is the Malchus that is descending all the way to be, like we said, the power of the maker in the thing that's made. It's Dasara Amoris, it's Malchus enclosed in the Nevroi. That's the reason why this power of Malchus that engages and is enclosed in Nevroim is called the sea. This indicates that the idea of godliness is concealed. Similar to the sea that covers over the dry land beneath it. Though the word of Hashem brings into being and gives life and makes exist all created beings, despite that, it's concealed, it's known, just like speech is also really a concealment of the person's mind and ideas that he's communicating through speech. Where do we see this? Because speech alone is not enough for another person to be able to understand what you're thinking. The other person first needs to come to the table prepared with his own mind. Only someone that is an intellectual person already on his own, he's coming to the speech with his mind, and begam oz, and even then, that the speech on its own would conceal the idea. And a person needs to have his mind to be able to decipher what the speech is trying to say. But even when it's deciphering it through the limitations of speech. Through speech, one only receives the external part of the intellect. But the inner part of the intellect remains concealed. Until 40 years, we say that what the Rav is communicating to the student remains concealed for 40 years. Then a person can establish and reach the mind of his master, of his teacher. How come? Why does it take so long? If the speech is revealing, because in truth, with all the revelation of speech, speech is like the sea that covers the seabed. It conceals, it covers, it hides. Because the idea of speech is like the sea that conceals. This is even more so according to what it's explained. Not the entire idea can be communicated through speech. When I tell someone over my ideas, my intellect, my concepts that I understand, not all of it can be communicated. Only a tenth of it. And the Rebbe is going to explain, it's not a tenth in the normal fashion that we speak about, a tenth portion, meaning that there's 10 evenly distributed portions, but it means a 10th level, meaning the lowest of 10 levels, which means that it's incomparably less than each one of the individual 9 levels preceding. As he explains, the intention is 10th in not just in number, but it's 10th qualitatively, meaning the 9 powers that are higher than speech are so much more elevated than the speech itself. So the speech is number 10, Malchus number 10 of the 10 koiches hanefesh. So just because Malchus is 1 out of 10, it's incomparable, let's say, to Chesed or to Chachma or to Bina. So we say it's a 10th of it. It doesn't mean an evenly distributed 10th part, but it's so much farther than it. Therefore, the Rebbe says, even the fact that after 40 years, a student can appreciate what his Rebbe was teaching and thinking, that's only in the part of the intellect that was able to come down in speech, which is only a tenth qualitatively. But the intellect of the teacher that did not come down into speech at all, the student will not arrive at it at all, even after the 40 years of study of his teacher's teachings. Even after 40 years, since the mind of the master of the Rebbe is incomparably higher than the mind of the student. McCall's moving from all this understood. That which comes down from the speech of Hashem, which Malchus is the 10th Sfira likened to speech. So just like our speech is very limited, the same way Hashem's speech that created the world, it's only very little, and even that little amount that's coming from Hashem's Sfira of Malchus is concealed. That's why it's called a sea, because the sea conceals the seabed. Concerning this, it says by Kriyas Yamsuf, he transformed the sea to dry land. On top of page U, to be able to affect and influence, that the words of Hashem should transform and change the world. That had to prior to that be the idea that he transformed sea to dry land. That is breaking through the barrier, the curtain, the separation between the worlds of Atzilus, Bri, Yitzir, Asiya. Just like the sea was split, so too there's a curtain between and a separation between the worlds of Atzilus and Bia that had to be split open to allow the revelation to come about, not to be concealed. And after that opening was made, after that parcel was split open, it says that the Jewish people came in the Yam. These are two types of traveling and going. They were both traveling from below to above, and also and also it's drawing down from above to below. This is also what's explained in Chassidus. There are two opinions concerning the splitting of the sea. The opinion of the Zohar is the worlds of Bia rose up to the world of Atzilus. That's what means that which was before low rose up. Das Harizal, the opinion of the Harizal is Atzilus. When the curtain was split and there was separation between Atzilus, Bri, Yitzir, Asiya was removed, so then it was the other direction. That was Atzilus went down to Bia. The Rebbe in other places says it's both right. It's both the Yerida Mulmaila and also an Aliyah Mulmat. Concerning this, it says, we brought down the pasuk earlier that the Chazal say on the pasuk, the one who tore the sea into cuts, into pieces, they say that the Yam, the sea was split into 12 channels, into 12 tears. Corresponding to 12 Shvatim. Just like there was the sea in the Beis Hamikdash. It's called in the Bayis Rishon. It says that Shlomo HaMelech built a sea standing on 12 oxen. It's called Yam Shel Shlomo, the sea of Shlomo HaMelech. That corresponds also to Malchus, but it stands upon the 12, meaning there's the sea, and it rests upon the 12 Shvatim, that stood on the 12 cattle. 3 were facing north, etc. Just like there was the 4 flags and the camps of the different flags in the midbar. Then every flag there was 3 shvatim. Valzen Namar concerning this, it says Shasham Alu Shvatim Shiftika. Over there, the shvatim of Hashem rose up That's what it says about the Shvatim also in Tehillim. Meaning, in our case, they said, through the tearing and through the opening of the Yamsuf, in this curtain, the separation between Atzilus and Bri Yitzir Asiyah, so the 12 Shvatim that are normally located in Bia, they rose up to the world of Atzilus. And not only that, like we said, both opinions are right, the Zoyar and the Arizal. Then there was also the drawing down from Atzilus to Bri Yitzir Asiyah, through the 12 paths, just like a path connects one place to another place, the same thing, the 12 openings, the 12 splits, brought down 12 hamshachas to each one of the 12 shvat. The holes there, who in the kriyas yams, all this, the splitting and the tearing of the sea, it's the opening and tearing up the curtain between the worlds of Atzilus and Biyah. The Torah was only a preparation for the giving of the Torah, of the revealed part of the Torah, as opposed to receiving the inner part of the Torah that we mentioned yesterday. That's Eitz HaChaim. What level is Eitz HaChaim? So Chassidus explains Bechinas Ze'er Ampi. That's going on the spheres of Atzilus itself, the midas of Atzilus, not the level of Malchus into Bia, but the level in the midas themselves. They should be impacted by higher than the midas. Through splitting of the river. Bechinas Bina, we know that Bina is a level of Rechoives Hanor, just like a raging river that's developed from a small wellspring. The same thing from the wellspring of Chochmah, there's the river of Bina comes out, and we need to split open that river of Bina. Just like there's a separation and a curtain between Abiyah, Atzilus, and Biyah, Ben Malchus was there, and there's also a curtain separating between Malchus and the Midas. Top of page Aleph, making Yesh Parsam and Michael and Midas. So too, there's a split and I'm sorry, not a split, a curtain and a covering and a separation between the intellect and emotions. So when Mashiach comes, there has to be the removal of that curtain. Therefore, there has to be the splitting of the river. There has to be the splitting of the curtain that's between the Bina and the Midas. It says upon the heads of the Malachim that are called Chayos, there was the firmament that's like this terrible ice, meaning this Rakia, this acts as a separation between the Malachim that are called Chayos, and higher they shouldn't be overwhelmed. And this level of Rakia is identified with Bina. And that is going to be open. Instead of being a separation, it's going to be opened up when Mashiach comes by days by Bina. When that is split and then the river is cut open. So then there's going to be the ascent of the Midas into the world of Bina. So to the other way, just like we said by Kriyas Yamsuf, it's the elevation of Bia to Atzilus and the drawing down of Atzilus to Bia. The same thing, there's going to be the elevation of the Midas to Bina, and also the drawing down of Bina into Midas. I know this means even when Bina comes down to Zeir Ampin, the Bina it will shine the light of Bina the way it is in Bina itself, meaning all the time now there's the level of Bina coming down into Midas. Intellect always informs the emotions, except now it's filtered through this parsa. But when Mashiach comes, and there's going to be the splitting of Bina open, there's going to be the splitting of this parsa between Bina and Zeir Ampin. So that's going to be the pure light of Bina is going to shine into the Midas. Now we can understand why when Mashiach comes, it will split into 7 tributaries instead of what he said before about 12 by Kriyas Yamsuf. Even Zeir Ampin Shava Midas, since Zeir Ampin is a 7 emotional attribute, Therefore, it'll be the splitting, and he will hit it into 7 separations, divisions, and so on. Page Yudal. Since the inner part of the Torah is longer than the earth, is its measure, and it moving, it's understood. There is, in this itself, that will take place when Mashiach comes, there are unending ascents. Aliyah, Aliyah, one ascent after another ascent. Like it says in the Pasuk, and the floors, I will show him wonders. It doesn't say I will show him wonder in the singular, but in the plural. So it's explained, it's Pella, wonder following wonder. And in general, the different levels that we will experience when Mashiach comes. The Ad Yavram Chavaya, Ad Yavram Zupanisa. These are the 2 ascents that we said that when Mashiach comes, there'll be until they will cross in the future tense. Your nation Havaya, that's an ascent having to do with the name Yudke Vavke, and then another level of ascent, the crossing until they will cross your nation Havaya, until they will cross without saying Shem Havaya. It's a higher level. The first ascent is dependent upon the name Yudke Vavke. And the second ascent is higher than the name Yudke Vavke. Similar to what we find concerning Yom Kippur. What it says that before Havaya you will purify yourselves. It's still connected to the name Yudke Vavke. Because it still says, even though it says before Havaya, meaning it's beyond Shem Yudke Vavke, but it still has a connection to the name Yudke Vavke. Masha Kosav Kibiyam is a Yichaper Aleichem, and when it says in this day it should be atoned for you, that doesn't say that a Havaya will atone for you. That's a level of Lamayla M'Shem Havaya, it's beyond Shem Havaya. The same thing, Mashiach's times, there's Ad Yavar Amcha Havaya till your nation Havaya will cross, and then Ad Yavar Amcha without saying Havaya, that's a higher level of crossing, a higher ascent. What it says that your nation Havaya will cross, it's to remove the curtain that's between emotions and intellect, especially to not hide anymore. The level of Chokhmah, the highest level of the intellect, should also be revealed. Through this becomes an ascent in the 7 tributaries or the 7 valleys of the Midas. This is only the removing of the curtain between the letters of Yudke of Shem Havaya. The Koyal B'chinas HaMoichim refers to the intellect. La'oisius Vavke, to the letters Vavke. Between Yudke and Vavke, there is this parsa, because between intellect and emotions. The Koyal B'chinas HaMidas, that the letters Vavke are referring to the Midas, top of page Yud base. And Nasai Deva Heinef Yadal Anor, that occurs through him raising his hand over the river. He called Shivan Lecholm, he will split it into 7. And afterwards is the second ascent, Ad Yavristam, until he will cross. And it doesn't say Shem Havaya. L'maylim Shem Havaya, beyond the name Yudke Vavke. So it's not about repairing or joining the Yudke and the Vavke. We're not even dealing with Yudke Vavke. It's about removing the curtain. It's not only between intellect and emotions, also removing the parsa between Atzilus and Keser, between the sphere of Chachma and the sphere and the level of Keser. So there's also a parsa over there that has to be removed. That's the higher level. That's Ad Yavar Amcha. Amzukanis, I'm sorry. Is line 6, and after this, Shlishi comes the third thing, Amzukanis. So we said before, even though in general you could divide the pasuk, Ad Yavram Chahavaya is one thing, and Ad Yavram Zukanis is another thing, but in truth, we could divide into 3. Ad Yavar Am Chahavaya is one level, a higher level is Ad Yavar, and then there's another level of Amzukanisa, which is even higher than that. This nation that you acquired. You say the Shein Lamaylam, and it shows them a special favor that the Yidden have that there's nothing higher than it. Inyan Haldi Alatz Musi is Baruch Shalom Alam Keser. It's the ascent to Hashem's very essence that's beyond Keser. It goes up into the inner level of Chachma, which is connected, as we know, to the innermost level of Atik Yom, in the innermost level of Keser. In a similar vein, we said, we compared it to what in the Pasuk, Hafach Yom Li'abasha, there's also three stages. Hafach Yom Li'abasha, Panar Yavra Beregel, and Sham Nismcha Bay. And we said it's similar, even though Hafach Yom Li'abasha is going back to the times of Kriyas Yams. So it says in line 10, Valderech Zagamba Mashukasa Hafach Yom Li'abasha, Panar Yavra Beregel. So too, also where it says he transformed sea to dry land. And they crossed the river by foot. It's similar to the two ascents of they will pass until they pass and until they pass. And afterwards it says, over there they will rejoice in. Boy, meaning in Hashem's very essence. It's similar to the idea that this nation you acquired, it's beyond all ascents. It's not. It's Hashem's unity with the Jewish people beyond any type of level of ascent. Line 16. This difference between the higher level of ascent, the total union with Hashem, and the previous levels, they're the two periods and eras that will be in the days of Mashiach. Days of Mashiach, and after that, the world to come. Both periods will be through Mashiach. Initially will be the time of the meal of the Leviathan and the wild, the ox of the wild. And afterwards will be a time of beyond physical consumption of a meal. Though the Leviathan and the Shoyrabor are very lofty things. We're not just talking about a physical meal, but they represent very high levels. They're still connected with the idea of a physical meal. After that will be a time that's beyond a meal. That's the idea of the world to come. There's no eating and no drinking in the world to come. Tzaddikim are sitting and deriving pleasure and benefit from the ray of the Shekhinah. The difference between them is what we see down here below by a person. Hashem Adam Elyon, similar to what it says, I am, that a person down here is similar to above. So therefore, from a person, you can understand above because they're similar. The most highest power of delight. There are two types. One is a delight that is a person feels and is conscious of it. The top of page Gimel, that's the level, the innermost level of Atik Yomin, the way it's enclosed in the innermost level of Chacham. It's still in a way that one senses it and is aware and is conscious of it. And the other one is a greater delight. Built-in mortgage, an essential delight that is one that does not sense it. That's what it says on Yavram, that till it crosses your nation, Hashem, till it crosses the nation, that there's the level of the delight that is felt and sensed, and then there's a type of delight that's beyond our sensing it. Afterward, he adds, this is what you acquired. As I mentioned before, what's the idea of acquisition? He becomes entirely one with Hashem's very essence. Then it's a day that's entirely Shabbos and rest forever. It's beyond all types of ascents. We'll stop over here.